Pro players find themselves in an unwinnable position all of the time. Their team is down in man count and the timer is running low, and it seems like it may all be over. But what separates a good player and a great one is their ability to step up to the plate, and some of them are able to do just that and pull off plays that genuinely no one thought was possible, leaving the fans, analysts, and even the casters in sheer disbelief. And when something like this happens on the world stage with millions of fans watching, it leads to these moments living on in the community's minds forever. So, in today's video, I'll be showing you 9 times professional players shock the world of Rainbow Six Siege. There will be insane clutches,
corner, the double! What a clutch, Kanto!
Unthinkable comebacks,
But he loses the fight, Uno! What a clutch!
and matches unlike any other. And the first of these extraordinary moments brings us back to 2017 in the Season 2 Pro League Finals, where Penta and Team Font found themselves in the semifinals of one of Siege's most prestigious tournaments. Penta managed to pick up the first map by a hair, and the second map was looking to be similar. The game score was 5-4 in Penta's favor, with the map being very competitive up until this point. Team Font manages to pick up the first kill of the round onto Fabian, and things were looking up for them. They got the main hatch open, and they were ready for a site execute. Well, not if Pingu had anything to say about it.
Bit of damage, just scaring them off. Jumps in for one, and Gohan will go down. No more IQ. Experience the second Astro down the floor. Marinka, are you ready for this? Yes! Pingu, are you kidding me? With a third getting taken down, and the drop right below, and it's
the crowd and casters went absolutely wild, impressed by this up-and-coming team's will and determination to win. And after this important win in the semifinals, Penta would go on to win the entire tournament, building huge momentum in the process. And in the following year, 2018, this momentum would come to a head with the 2018 Invitational, where arguably the 2 best teams in the world found themselves up against each other for a chance to call themselves world champions. The first team was Evil Geniuses, who was comprised of mostly the same players who had won the previous Invitational, and Penta, who was comprised of some of the most promising players in the scene. However, Evil Geniuses very quickly started dismantling Penta, shutting down pretty much any strategy they tried to throw at them, allowing them to pick up the first map rather easily, and the second map was much closer, but they managed to edge that one out as well, putting themselves up by 2 maps going into the third of the series. This was a position that no one had managed to climb out of before at pretty much any major LAN event, and with this much momentum going in Evil Genius's favor, it seemed all but inevitable that they would come out on top. However, against all odds, Penta started to climb themselves out of this immense hole by winning Cafe with a decisive score of 5-3.
Difficult with only one, be able to eliminate Amante, but Penta takes their first map.
And winning the next map, Bank with an even more decisive lead of 5-2.
Pengu, there's only one defender left to deny this, and it's not going to happen.
This took away all of Evil Genius's momentum, and the pressure was now on them to not throw the biggest lead ever on the main stage, giving Penta a huge confidence boost going into the final map, Coastline. This was a map that both teams were comfortable on, so it would come down to whichever team played it better in the moment, and it was very close, with each team battling back and forth until eventually the score was 4-5 in Penta's favor, meaning Penta was 1 round away from picking up the map, and with that, the whole series. And they started off the round strong, putting themselves ahead in man count very quickly. However, Evil Geniuses were able to bring that man count back into their favor, putting Pingu in a 1v2 situation. However, luckily for him, before the rest of his team had died, they had managed to get the plant down, and it was in the perfect spot. So he found himself in a position that he was all too familiar with, in a 1v2 with all odds against him. And let's just say, he clutched up for his team.
The doorway as they start to defuse. Pengu goes for one on the young. Can he go the second? They're often known as the best team in the world.
This was one of the most incredible matchups in Siege history, and the comeback was unthinkable. So unthinkable that it changed the way people viewed professional play forever. This matchup showed how important a team's mindset was going into a match, because if Evil Geniuses didn't get into their own heads, they likely would have taken the trophy home. However, while the game was an impressive showing, the following year, 2019, would be packed to the brim with impressive games and plays throughout the scene. The first of these impressive games that would come in 2019 is that of the Invitational Grand Final. This Grand Final saw 2 European powerhouses battling out against each other. The first was G2, the same Penta roster that had managed the unthinkable at last year's invite, and the second was Team Empire, a Russian team full of mechanically gifted players that had been winning in the European League for a while up until this point. Everyone knew this was going to be a bloodbath and an absolute amazing series to watch, but what everyone didn't expect was for the first match of the series to be record-breaking. Both teams found themselves on Coastline, G2's pick. I don't know what it is, but these insane matchups always tend to find themselves on this map. The match immediately opened with aggressive plays from both sides, G2 going for runouts and peeking outside to get frags, and Empire being swift in their taking of map control and in taking early engagements. The match was close, and both teams were trading rounds back and forth again and again, until they eventually found themselves all the way in overtime. However, what was significant about this matchup specifically was because it implemented infinite overtime. This means that the game would continue to go on until one team was ahead by 2 rounds, and that rule was crucial because the 2 teams would continue to trade rounds over.
At some point, it's another here for Corsair, and he goes for the follow, but no!
And over.
But he has no C4, aware he's being hunted by Joystick, but he loses the fight!
And over again.
He takes out Kanto, and where's the other body? It's Fabian!
It seemed like both teams were in this thing to win it, and every time they would lose a round, their mentality would be unfazed going into the next round. This would continue all the way up until round 21, where G2 found themselves ahead for the first time in a while in this matchup, and the aggression from G2 would end up paying off tremendously, putting them up in man count quickly in this round. And after the initial man count advantage, it became really hard for Empire to fight back. They gave it their best effort, but eventually ended up falling apart, giving G2 the victory and ending this map after 22 rounds, or 1.5 hours to put it into perspective. This was a marathon unlike anything we had ever seen before, and it would once again prove the mental strength required to excel at this level, because this whole matchup would be won rather easily by G2 after this match, because of the fact that Team Empire's mental was so heavily shot after losing a 22-round game. And I can't say I blame them. Now, the next moment in professional play that would shock the world happened just 3 months after this match, at the Season 9 Pro League Finals. This was an amazing event with insane upsets and competitive matchups throughout. However, the moment I am talking about for today was in the semi-final matchup between Evil Geniuses and FaZe Clan. This match was important for both teams because it would dictate whether they would manage to make it to the grand finals or not, and Evil Geniuses had managed to take the first map against FaZe narrowly. And in the 9th round of the second map border, Evil Geniuses found themselves in a tough position. They were down in a 3v5 scenario due to FaZe picking up some early frags, and that would quickly turn into a 1v4 after FaZe pulled off some well-needed aggression. This left Young all alone against all odds. And well, let's just say Young stood on business.
And Mab all alone outside, but Young all alone on his roster as he's gonna end up picking up 3 kills! Oh my god, what is that? Young! Quad kill!
He ended up pulling off one of the most impressive 1v4s we've ever seen in professional play history. And he managed to do it while trapped inside a room with the shotgun SMG-11 on smoke. A very impressive play that left everyone amazed who witnessed it. And it would give them the momentum they desperately needed to pick up this series against FaZe Clan 2-0. Now, the next shocking moment would occur 5 months later by a new prodigy shortly after his debut in the scene. That prodigy was none other than Beaulo. He was a very controversial pickup by the relatively new TSM roster at the time. Many people thought Beaulo wouldn't be nearly as good as he was in ranked, and a lot of people thought picking him up was a huge risk. Well, he wanted to prove himself, and in the 5th round on the 14th playday of Season 10 against Rogue, he would do just that. TSM started off the round at a huge disadvantage because they lost their player Gotcha extremely early on while they were taking control of the top floor of Cafe, and it very quickly became apparent that they were running out of time. And as easily walked up the red stairs and caught the rest of Beaulo's team off guard, the round very quickly turned into a 2v4, and Beaulo knew he needed to spring into action. Well, he would quickly make his way downstairs and he would start executing onto the bomb site, picking up a frag in the process. But his one remaining teammate left, Merc, would fall shortly after. This left Beaulo in a 1v3 scenario with 25 seconds on the clock. And I'll just let the clip speak for itself.
Spotting him, now it's all into Beaulo. Beaulo definitely going to make an effort of it, if nothing else.
Oh my
Already
god!
got 2. Vertical at low health as well. Beaulo can clutch this. Full health. Vertical though, if he just comes in right now. No, the timing Vertical just had to come in sooner. The ace.
This proved to the world and his team that he was a worthwhile pickup and that his professional career was just getting started. I watched this happen live and my jaw hit the floor when he managed to turn this disaster around. And just like myself, many were excited to see where his career would go. Now, our next moment, which occurred at the Season 10 finals, was also done by a professional player that was a new pickup by his roster. This would occur in the quarterfinals matchup between Navi and Wild wildcard in the second round of the second map. Once again, we find ourselves on Coastline, and this time we have Nello, who found himself in a 1v4 with 40 seconds on the clock, a situation that should be all but over. And most teams will try to use this time to talk strategy and to try to make up for their mistakes in this round. Well, not Nello. And what he would manage to pull off here was nothing but legendary.
What was that from Immerin?
Looking for the bullet holes. Nello will get one though as Dirtbay peeks on up, but everyone's stacking by the face, awaiting the approach for Nello. No utility left. Diffuser in hand in a 1v3 in the midst of a crossfire. Gets one on a Diesel and a second one on Immerin. Are you kidding me?
This left his team in absolute awe, and the casters were absolutely mind blown by this play. This might honestly go down as one of the greatest clutches ever achieved, and with it happening on the main stage in front of thousands of fans, it definitely has left its mark. Now, the next insane moment is one that blew everyone's mind and resulted in a call out on the map being named after it. This moment brings us to the 2022 Charlotte Major, where in the grand final, Dark Zero found themselves up against a relatively new budding team, Astralis. In the 9th round of the 4th map on Oregon, Astralis found themselves heavily down in man count, but the timer was in their favor since they were on the defense, with it quickly dwindling down. And with Iconic in this brilliant position with shotgun in hand, it might just be doable. And well, Iconic proved that theory correct.
Go in, Iconic, be patient, be patient. What are you gonna do? You know two are there, and he gets them both. There's only one remaining, and Astralis are in good shape. NJR and 4K from Iconic.
This moment directly resulted in that specific corner on the basement of Oregon forever being named Iconic, and it seemed that people learned from Dark Zero's horrible mistake because no team has ever misdrone that corner since. Now, while the next moment may not be as iconic, it still was a rather insane clutch on Bank during the playoffs of the 6th Invitational 2022. This match saw DWG Kia going up against Soniqs in an extremely close match. The game score was 5-6 in Soniqs' favor. All they had to do was win this round to take map number 1, which will give them huge momentum for the rest of the series. However, DWG very quickly tore Soniqs' defense apart, with each member collapsing one by one. Eventually, all that was left behind was Kanzan, who found himself in a 1v4 at significant distance with a shotgun and an SMG-11 to his name. However, with him prone under a desk, the enemy team had no idea where he was, and he would end up using that to his advantage, with great effect.
Strix as well, and all of a sudden it's Kanzan, but a beautiful double play, trying to ride out the final 4 seconds. He has no idea where that diffuser is. SMG up. They're watching in this position. As he goes to swing out, there's both Coded and Katsang watching from this angle. Kanzan, are you a miracle worker? You only need one more!
This moment was just a show of pure mechanical skill, and it left DWG fans in absolute disbelief as to how they could have lost that round. And because of this clutch, Kanzan's team were able to take the whole series against DWG 2-0, which was pretty impressive. Now, our final shocking moment brings us to December of 2022 at the EUL Grand Final, where Eminem Gaming and BDS found themselves battling it out on Clubhouse, and in round 3, Eminem decided to go for a very risky play. They knew BDS had most of their lineup holding upstairs, playing vertically on the site, so they wanted to use that to their advantage by smoking off the bomb site and going for an extremely fast and early plant. And luckily for them, that ended up working. However, Shaiko managed to drop down the construction hatch using the smoke the enemy team threw as cover, and he immediately got on the diffuser, where this happened.
The drop, but now he's gonna see if he can just hold the corner. Do they know? Nello,
they don't know.
Swing,
They don't know. They don't know. They don't know.
He managed to pull off the diffuse right under the noses of the enemy team. The casters were absolutely flabbergasted. They couldn't believe that Eminem let that happen to them on the main stage, and the players of BDS were even more in awe of what just happened. At the professional level, pulling off a ninja diffuse is rare, but pulling one off within inches of an opponent is damn near unheard of. And honestly, it's impressive for all the wrong reasons. Anyways, hopefully you guys enjoyed this video. I've been playing Siege for a significant portion of my life, and watching professional play has been a huge part of my passion for this game. So I figured I'd do a video compiling some of my favorite moments in the scene's history that shocked me and many others around the world. If you enjoyed today's video, I make Siege content just like this twice a week, so go subscribe to the channel and follow me on Twitter if you don't want to miss the next upload. Now, if you want to watch another video just like this one, a video popping up on your screen right now that I'm sure you all enjoy. I'll see you next time, friends, and peace.